It was the year 1652 when the Dutch East India Company, known as the VOC, established a supply station at the Cape of Good Hope under the leadership of Jan van Riebeck. The goal was simple: to create a resupply point for VOC ships traveling between Europe and the East Indies, allowing them to stock up on fresh water, meat, and vegetables. The Cape was perfectly located, halfway between Europe and Asia. This was before the Suez Canal existed. The Cape's temperate climate and fertile soil made it an ideal spot for farming, and soon the small outpost began to grow. While the original plan was purely logistical, the success of the settlement sparked ambition. Dutch settlers, known as Boers, a Dutch word meaning farmers, began pushing inland in search of more fertile land for agriculture and livestock. To fuel this expansion and keep the colony running, the VOC turned to slave labor. In 1658, just 6 years after the settlement began, the first slaves were imported to the Cape, a group of Angolans captured from a Portuguese ship. Over time, thousands more were brought from Mozambique, Madagascar, Indonesia, India, and Sri Lanka, performing hard labor on farms, in households, and in service of the VOC. This expansion brought them into direct conflict with the Khoikhoi, the region's original inhabitants, led by chiefs like Outshamato and Doman. For thousands of years, the Khoikhoi had lived as pastoralists and herders across the Cape. But as more land was seized by the Dutch, tensions escalated. What started as competition over grazing land and water quickly turned into a full-scale conflict. The Khoikhoi-Dutch Wars began in 1659 and continued intermittently into the 1670s, were among the first violent confrontations between European settlers and indigenous African communities. Armed with superior weapons and supported by the VOC, the Dutch settlers gradually displaced the Khoikhoi from their ancestral lands, shattering their traditional way of life. By the 1700s, the Dutch frontier pushed even farther east. This time, they encountered the Xhosa, a powerful and organized Bantu-speaking people who had long lived along the eastern Cape frontier. What followed was over a century of intermittent warfare, known as the Cape Frontier Wars, a series of 9 major conflicts fought between 1779 and 1879, as both Boer settlers and later the British Empire clashed with the Xhosa over land, cattle, and control. The Europeans viewed Xhosa territory as both fertile farmland and a strategic buffer. But for the Xhosa, the land was far more than just soil. It was a source of identity, history, and survival. But colonial forces deployed scorched earth tactics, burning homes, seizing cattle,